What's going over?
Hey, Kurt, local school. We'd like to open up an occupied station track in Doylestown.
Roger, 95 on the up permission to open up occupied Doylestown Main.
Alright, here we go.
Army Forge, where he finds that one hobby is much more than kid stuff.
It is the largest show of its kind in the country and the first time in 30 years that the National Model Railroad Association has held its annual national convention right here in the Delaware Valley. An event that all weekend long will turn all 3 floors of the Valley Forge Convention Center into the scale equivalent of Grand Central Station as retailers and hobbyists and visitors focus on its universal appeal.
People have been coming here from literally around the world. We've had people here from New Zealand, we've had people here from Europe, Japan, Holland.
The centerpiece of this year's show being the world's largest N-scale layouts. It's not exactly clear what the letter N stands for, except that working with details this minute wouldn't drive anybody neurotic.
It's 1/160th scale. This is the biggest in the world. We will have about 80 to 90 trains running simultaneously on the layout.
Needless to say, precise measurements are called for in setting the whole layout up. So precise, in fact, that a surveyor's transit is used to make sure that to make sure that the whole thing is level, not in relation to the floor of the building, which has way too many subtle variations, but in relation to the surface of the earth.
It's 1,100 feet around in circumference. It's 33 scale miles. If you put a train on here and you were waiting for it to come back, it would take over an hour to come back.
Just to make one circuit?
Just to make one circuit around. We have a 42nd Street Theater District. We have airports, car washes, city scenes, resorts, just any type of particular scene that you could probably find in real life you'll find modeled here.
Which will be seen by thousands of visitors to the show for its weekend run. If you're thinking of coming down, the Valley Forge Convention Center can be reached via exit 24 of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, the Goddard Boulevard exit of the Schuylkill Expressway, and by SEPTA's Route 125 bus out of Center City. As far as the regional rail lines are concerned, you're out of luck. You can't get here by train. I'm Don Pollock, Channel 6 Action.
Visitors got a chance to check out the ICE train for its level of comfort and the state-of-the-art features. The train can reach speeds of 250 miles an hour. On a recent test run in North Jersey, it clocked 162 miles an hour.
About it, tell you about it too. One of the world's fastest and most luxurious express trains is on display in Philadelphia. About 3,000 people visited 30th Street Station today to look at the ICE train. The sleek, super-fast train from Germany is being tested by Amtrak. The ICE train begins Metroliner service this fall. And in Fairmount Park, the art of self-defense was taught. It's called Aikido.
Oh, here comes the ice. Or the X. Sorry. Set away, set the train 1354. Set the way to the train 1354. Be prepared to copy, sir.
Extensive reconstruction, SEPTA is showing off its new regional railroad. Now, SEPTA faces a challenge that might be even bigger, bringing back its old riders and winning over new ones. Farland Chang reports.
After a century of use and then decay, SEPTA finally revamped its regional rail line that connects the northern suburbs to Center City. That was then, this is now.
All aboard!
With that, SEPTA officials showed the news media its new regional railway. Normal service will begin on Sunday.
It's nice and smooth. It's usually a little shaky with the welded rail. It's a lot better.
SEPTA says it should be safer for riders too, now that this aging 4.5-mile stretch of rail has been overhauled with a smoother track.
They're going to notice their coffee's not going to be spilled on their laps when they're riding. And that's going to be a big improvement.
The Railworks project cost about $265 million of federal money. That's $90 million below budget, thanks to competitive bidding during the recession. The passengers who will benefit are the ones who have suffered through rail shutdowns. 6 lines were partially or completely shut down. The R2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The northern end of SEPTA's rail system normally serves about 17,500 customers. But during the past 2 years of construction, SEPTA has lost about 10% of those customers. It will not be easy to win them back.
I think that it's going to be difficult to move people out of their cars, but I don't believe that it's an impossible job.
With help from an upcoming media blitz, SEPTA will promise more reliable and in some cases faster service. SEPTA says there will be no more sagging signal and power cables in the summer, no more freezing switches in the winter, and no more dangerous construction near people's homes. SEPTA has also built a new rail station serving Temple University, and on many lines, riders should find new lighting, more parking, and expanded rail service.
What's at stake here is the future of the ridership of our suburban lines and the future of mass transit.
SEPTA has been losing riders and revenue in recent years. It is hoping this new project will help place it back on the right track. In North Philadelphia, Farland Chang, the 10 o'clock news.
Coming up, a Delaware Valley company takes on the big-time computer data service.
21 bridges were rebuilt, new tracks installed. The North Broad Street station was revamped, a new stop built at Temple University finally. Only problem, many commuters jumped ship, so to speak, when construction began. But officials say you'll want to come back. It was worth the wait.
They're not going to have to put up with slow orders and trains because of poor track or bridge conditions, and the ride's going to be very reliable.
SEPTA is so confident about the new system, it's guaranteeing its trips. If you don't reach your stop within 15 minutes, your next ride won't cost you a dime or a dollar, or whatever it is to get on the train these days. It's free.
And the bitches are just bad. The worst train wrecks in history claim 79 lives in Philadelphia. As Farland Chang reports, the memories of the destruction have lasted a lifetime for two people who witnessed the tragedy.
The red brick front, that was where I lived.
From her Port Richmond home across from the Frankford Junction, Belle Graham witnessed the disaster.
To me, it was like the end of the world, Ted. That's what it felt like, just like the end of the world.
Mrs. Graham is talking about 50 years ago, Labor Day 1943. That's when a Pennsylvania Railroad train jumped the tracks, killing 79 people and injuring 116.
I thought they were all dead, and oh my God. The servicemen were all on it. It was awful. They were under the seats, and one lady was crushed under there. Oh, it was horrible.
Back then, Charlie Halloran was a 27-year-old civil defense worker. He was returning from an errand when the train crashed near his home.
The first feeling I had, what do I do? Who do I help?
As a wartime volunteer, he tried to be ready for anything. When he got to the scene, many onlookers stood in the way of the rescue effort. But despite that, he says the police officers and the firefighters helped to save many of the 541 passengers on board.
They done a terrific job. They done a terrific job. They were it. As far as I'm concerned, they were it. Of course, the doctors were there, to tell what to do. But they were the ones that knew what had to be done.
The emergency response lasted 24 hours. Halloran says it was fortunate that many volunteers knew how to provide first aid, or else even more people would have died.
You need it when you least expect it.
At first, some people blamed the disaster on wartime sabotage, but later, investigators blamed it on a mechanical problem. Do you still think about what happened?
Yeah, often. If you come by here, like if I drive by here, it all comes back to you. God help us, I hope it never happens again.
Farland Chang, the 10 o'clock news.
Coming up tonight, a new study about smoke
affected by its Railworks project. This was the first full day of service for commuters. All 6 of SEPTA's rail lines had to be shut down for repairs and are now back in operation. SEPTA is hoping to lure riders back that it lost during the 2-year project. In that time, SEPTA rebuilt 4.5 miles of track between Center City, Philadelphia, and Wayne Junction. The project was finished on time and below budget. SEPTA still has to work out a few bugs with schedules, but is promising.
The Electric wants to ship another kind of fuel through the city, nuclear fuel, and that has pushed some emotional hot buttons. The leading opponent, City Councilwoman Happy Fernandez.
A nuclear fuel going through our neighborhoods puts fear in my heart.
Here's what scares Fernandez. PECO wants to transport 33 containers of nuclear fuel rods over the next year. They would arrive by ocean barge at Eddystone, Delaware County, then move by special train along tracks that skirt Center City and run under the Art Museum. The final destination, the Limerick plant in Montgomery County. Fernandez says many people live near the rail lines.
The worst case possibility would be some of the nuclear fuel would escape from these allegedly safe caskets, or casks, or whatever they're calling them, and endanger the health of people where the accident happened.
Pico says Fernandez is ignoring the facts. Pico says the fuel rods are only slightly radioactive and pose little health hazard. They will be packed in special 70-ton steel casks like this one, designed to be virtually indestructible. In this test, a locomotive actually rammed a cask. The cask stayed intact. Today, federal officials gave the Pico plan a green light.
This activity can be completed in a very safe manner.
Fernandez wants the plan stopped. Despite all the safety testing, she says New York officials nixed the idea of transporting the fuel rods through their city. Fernandez believes Philadelphia should do the same. John Rollins, Channel 6, Action News.
Rush hour travelers on the train had to be evacuated. There are no reports of any injuries right now, but outbound rush hour trains have been halted by the fire, although trains running into Center City are still running. That is the scene live from Chopper 6. Trouble on the tracks on the SEPTA R8 Chestnut Hill line at this hour. In other news tonight, a Center City hospital was caught up in a hostage drama this afternoon.
I have to say that was a busy boom.